Hey guys, welcome to the woods. Got a nice spot out here today, right at the water's edge. I'm just trying to get my arm propped up so I can hold the camera steady as I shake it around, trying to get my arm propped up. All right, so I don't like that angle though. I feel like I'm chasing it. That's better. All right, now I just gotta hold it because if it falls, it's into the water. I'm on this branch, part of that log. Anyway, you get it. I'm in nature. All right. So, I thought today I was thinking about techniques that I use that I think are pretty interchangeable with anybody. I picked this one up not too long ago, but I think it's a good one. And it's called EFT tapping, or just tapping sometimes, but there's a lot of people doing it on YouTube. And Louise Hayes, remember her? I think she wrote Course in Miracles. She's one of those early people, like late 70s maybe, because I got into that new age stuff in the early 80s because it was kind of what was popping, and there was a lot of information out, and I took a whole bunch of courses and got all into that stuff. But really I was Catholic, so I had mixed in that, and I got really involved more in the Catholic Church than I did in the new age stuff in my 30s and 40s when I had kids, you know, and you go to church and you get more involved. And but anyway, now I'm back to the spirituality bent of things. And I think because it's vibrationally, it just makes more sense on how you're going to work on what are the tools. The tools are always coming to us as we evolve, and call it gifts from God, whatever. But in our ethers is the solution to all of our evolution of our mental. We know it's the next frontier. It's your positive sense of things is able to manipulate the environment, the environment actually, but you know, energetically. Your relationships, your everything, your positive attitude. I mean, nobody's really foreign to that basic concept. We just don't like to talk about whether you're really tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you're a happy, loving to be yourself kind of guy, or if you're a complainer who's can only handle so much of all that craziness. So you're on one end of the scale or the other, but we tend to get kind of sensitive about it and defensive, and there's no need to be. There's no other way to go, but we're all going to evolve and come to grips with our surroundings, and we're not going to evolve by beating ourselves into being different people. It's going to be part of our mental evolution. It's going to change our paradigm. We're just going to be more loving to ourselves, and thereby then to everyone around you. And that's a game changer, and that's a vibrational shift. That's not a doing thing. So to get further down that path, now that I've got you so enticed to want to do it, tapping. So the idea is there's energy meridians that go, you know, the Chinese have been saying that for a long time. These energy meridians is what acupuncture uses, and acupressure and stuff like that. So I've sort of dabbled with that stuff over the years. But anyway, I feel like you can't do it enough. I mean, they're not going to prick me every day, and once or twice a year isn't really going to do anything, you know. So I really didn't have any real ailments I was trying to fix either. But anyway, but I like the meridian concept. And then I was starting to say about Louise Hayes. She is pushing this tapping. She didn't come up with it either. Some doctor did, but he was a psychotherapist, I think, and he was just found it really helpful for people, and it just sort of stuck. I think it's just one of those ideas that comes from the ethers. And I think it's magical. But the idea is you're tapping on meridians. There's one over top of the eyebrow, one on the side of the eye, one right below the eye, right below the nose, right below the lip, right on the chest bone here, you know, collarbone. But anywhere in that area, sometimes use bigger fingers because it's a bigger area. And then underneath the armpit, and then the top of the head. What that does to reset your computer, don't worry about it, but it's magical. So that's the rhythm of the meridians, the ones that matter, the ones that accomplish the most. Now, what you're trying to do is take something that you found because you're looking for these things, where you've sort of judged yourself poorly, like I didn't do a good job of that. Like, you know, since my kids are just jumping on their own, it's like, oh, I kind of messed them up. Anything that my kids are doing that's not is found to be self-defeating. My kids are doing something self-defeating. It must be my fault. That's a natural, that's your first go-to instinct. Sure, everybody's going to feel that way. But then you take control of it. As soon as it crosses your mind, it's like, whoa, that's self-judgment. I did the best I could. So that statement right there, right? It's magical. I did the best I could. Given the time, we have other kids, we have, this is not a real scenario in my life, but I'm just sharing with an example. Let's be real about something that somebody's out there having a trigger about. And you want to find these things. And I feel like most people are trying to bury them and avoid them, because I try to talk about them and most people don't really want to. I feel like anytime I feel it, I want to stop and go, wait a minute, was that self-judgment? It's much different than egotism. It's not like, oh, I'm telling myself I'm the best all the time. It's like, no, I don't have an inner dialogue that allows for any self-criticism, judgment. But when you feel a little sense of that stuff, like, oh, did I do a good job with my kids? Someone is just sort of judging my children, and that's really a sensitive thing. Of course it is for everybody. There's no way to not have that as a sensitivity. If you've raised kids, you're latched to them. They go on their way, and you're emotionally and self-confidence and all types of things are going to be intertwined with your children. There's no way to get around that. And the more you want to suppress that happens, the worse it gets, really. And it starts to get funky, But anyhow, and there's lots of that going around, as we know. So that would be one. That's an example. That would be one thing that we'd be like, it'd be good to sort of say, hey, Dan, you did the best you could. But you can't just say it once. You got to say it. It's got to be like the new mantra that makes up for the old mantra, which was, you're not doing such a good job, work a little harder, be a better dad, be a better provider, be a better friend, be a better neighbor, be a better, right? All of them. Be a better son, to my own parents, and sibling to my siblings, and all that stuff. So you could just go on and on. They're deep in there, and they're on all types of topics. But anytime they come to mind, you don't need to go looking for them. But anytime they come to mind, or someone brings it up, somehow a trigger happens, you feel a little funky, and you get sensitive to that, then you want to sort of take a second, recognize your breath, and take a positive effort to soothe that. I call it, just self-loving. Love what comes up. Matt Kahn, I really like that guy. It's a lot of this same kind of, basically the same message in his tone, and he lives in California, and a little younger than me, never had kids, and he was married for a little bit, but they're still kind of together, but he's on his own. He's a lone wolf, and he's all in on this basic same message. And he gives talks all the time. There's a whole bunch of him on YouTube also. They're really I liked him. I think I went through phases with different people, different things, but I digest them all because I want to know all the tricks from all the masters who are speaking about this love energy, vibration, sense of self. Anyone on that topic, I'm latching on. What do you got? What are you doing? What's working? What's not? And then you put it in your backpack and you just keep going and you keep carrying. But you can't be on the positive side of what you could be doing with your life, all the positives you could create. You can't really think about it if you're in that funky world of, I'm still judging myself and I'm self-condemning. Every time we think about something in our past that we might have done, it's important to sort of feel, does that feel good? You're loving on that? And if you're not, you got to love on it. So here's how you do it. Tapping. So I always say, so that you have to come up with these and you can write them down, but watch them on YouTube. They'll sort of teach you how to do it too. Otherwise, you can pay a couple dollars. People will do it for you. But you just want to say something I don't feel good about. Even though I was not a great father, I unconditionally love and accept myself. And then you go to the next meridian and you dance on here and you say the same thing again. Even though I wasn't a great father, I unconditionally love and accept myself. Even though I wasn't a great father, I love and unconditionally accept myself. Even though I wasn't a great father, I unconditionally love and accept myself. And you go through the rest of them. I want to talk about it more than keep doing. You do under the armpit, like I said at the beginning, and then you do the top of the head. So you go through, that's your meridians. And they'll show you on YouTube. I think I did the chest one, right? All right, so that's saying two things. One, I have something that I wasn't loving on about myself. I was judging, I was feeling like, so I want to really focus on that thing that's said wrong, that even though I don't feel like I'm a good father. Of course, it feels funny for me to even say that because it is the way it is. You've got something funky, you don't want to bring it up. You don't want to say, oh, even though I think I'm a bad father. I don't want to say to myself, you think you're not a good father. Now that kind of hurts your feelings a little bit. I get it. But let's not dance around the fact that there are those things in the back of your mind that you just don't like about yourself. And you might as well bring them forward, give them some kisses and some love, and tap it out of your meridians at the same time. Magic. And keep tapping and go through. And what they say is, write down like, oh, I'm an 8 on that sense of, did I do a good job as a father? I'm an 8 out of 10. I like to be 10 out of 10. But I was thinking more like 2 out of 10. A lot of people are, though, honestly. Let's be honest. Okay, so wherever you are on that scale, you wouldn't bother if you were 8 out of 10. That's the reason I was making the point. If you're down at 2, you're having a bad time and you're feeling bad about something about yourself, start with the big ones, right? But tap them out and keep going through. My point was, you write down where you are at the beginning, like I'm a 2 out of 10. I'm really frustrated about this. And then as you do them, maybe by the third time, you keep going around. You just keep going nice and slow. You can change the wording a little bit. I do love myself so much. Instead of all the time, I unconditionally love and accept myself. I think you should start with that one, though. Unconditionally love and accept myself. That in itself is a mantra that if you could do that over and over again every day with different things you feel funny about, you'll just naturally start winding these things together, and you start feeling funny about something at all, you don't even need to start tapping. Dan, you're needing a little bit of love about your fathering. You're judgmental because you feel like your kids aren't doing a great job. What are you thinking your kids aren't doing a great job for? Are you feeling funny? Are you looking out at the world through funny glasses of what's going wrong out there? And you just bring your vibration back down and calm down yourself about the judgment stuff, and you love on yourself, and you love on that moment, and you take a moment for yourself and say, I think you did a great job. And it's tricky, but the tricky is the fun we came here for. I don't know what fun thing I've ever done in my life that didn't have a big element of tricky. Right? Fun is tricky. This is a tricky process, this mental stuff. Oh, what's the mess with that stuff? That's like getting real, getting too serious. I mean, my friends have said to me, getting a little deep, I don't even get into these kind of conversations. You just start to even talk about anything real and serious. Or what do you think about your ability to be a father? Do you feel comfortable about that? Do you think you did everything you did? Did you maybe give more than you wished you had? Or did you and your wife really agree exactly on how much you did for your kids and how much you didn't do? And when you let them cry and when you went to soothe them? And was that all worked out exactly? Of course not. But we're just going to get in a mental process of some tactic that we're going to use every day to sort of to build on that now. We can't just let it be like, oh, well, I came through my years of raising children and I feel like I maybe didn't do a good job of it. Well, if you're going to say maybe you didn't do a good job of it, I can tell you there's roots to that, and there's a whole bunch of like, I really didn't feel like I did a good job about this one thing, this one time I said to my one kid, oh yeah, there's that one thing, I wish I hadn't have said that or hadn't have done that. Sure, we all have those, right? So that's good stuff to tap out and work through that and feel better about it. And more love about and acceptance you build into yourself, the more love and acceptance you'll build into everything you experience, right? And we all like it when people want to be more open. The more open and accepting and loving you are, the better the person you are. No one on the planet doesn't disagree with that. This is how you build it. You got to love and accept yourself. You can't put enough signs out there to say stop being prejudiced if you don't love and accept yourself. You're just the signs will be another reminder of how much you love and hate yourself. I mean, dislike yourself, and you know what I mean? So I think I'm at 14 minutes. See, it's always perfect. 15 is about the right amount of time. Anyway, I appreciate your patience. Try the tapping, look it up. I didn't explain it the best, but I just want to tell you, I do it, and it's powerful, powerful, powerful. You start doing stuff like that, and you can work into positive things, and but lots of positive things tapped into my head with my fingertips. Just call it that, right? It's going to be good. Now, if we can not only tap into myself positive things, but also like a little love about the things I don't feel good about in my past. It's like, oh, we're doing the best we can, right? And what are we really, this is all a charade anyway, right? I'm just a vibrational being temporarily living here as a human on the planet. there's not so much at stake here. There's no predator out there trying to get me, and there's nobody out there who's going to judge me when I'm done. You're judging yourself in the moment of now. That's what I'm trying to get over, that judgment. That's the stuff when you feel like you didn't do a great job as a father. That's called judgment. It's all judgment. There's a ton of it in there. So forget about worrying about where you are on the paradigm. Just jump in and find a tactic and do something every day. I think the tapping every day, a few rounds, 8 or 10 times, a few times a day, and then just getting used to whenever something, emotion comes up, something feels heavy, something feels, you feel like you need to take a breath for a second. What are you feeling? What do you think? What's the dialogue that came up at the time? Let's tap it out. Even though I, drop the butter on the counter and it's a pain in the neck to wipe it up, I love and accept myself because I feel upset about the butter being dropped. Even though I drop butter and I'm a clumsy guy, I love and unconditionally love and accept myself. Even though I dropped butter and made a big mess, I unconditionally love and accept myself. Can you hear it when I was talking over? I should have done this, skip that one. Anyway, then this one, then it's this one, then under the armpit, then the top of the head. And it's magical. It gets those meridians in tuned and in focused. I paid $150 for some lady in Colorado to do something for me, which all I did was set her, she's 30 minutes on the phone, sitting on the chair next to me. She's meditating, I'm meditating. Whew, $150, that was worth it. Carry that information with me, that energetic download with me for the rest of my life. $150 was like, it's just like saying thank you. That's it. There's magical stuff out there, and there's a lot of tools out there, but you got to get on the program of, you got to love on yourself a little bit to be open to what your possibilities are, who you could really be. Build some real worthiness. I'm worthy of some really great things. It doesn't matter what my age is and what my health is and what my particular circumstances are at the moment. I got big things I can and will bring to this planet. And they're not going to be doing things. They're not going to be proving yourself. They're not going to be building worthiness. It's going to be real blossoming gifts of your inner dialogue, like I'm giving now. What's your loving things that you're saying to yourself? And if you're really good at it, pick up somebody else and give them some tips. That's why I feel like you need something to put your fingers on. That's why the tapping is good. You can. There's people that'll train you on it. Whatever you need. I just need to get a little whiff of it. And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. It's the meridians. It wraps it all up. I was all in right from the get-go. And I started tagging things in when they just what I'm telling you I did. There's 100 tips, but that's a good one. And then I also like to listen to, I think Abraham Hicks has got the cleanest message. I know some people, everybody's funny about this stuff, period, right? So tapping, maybe because you haven't heard of it, you might be open to it. But somewhere, here's an interesting point. Sometimes people have a problem with Abraham Hicks. And the problem is, you might look into it and you're like, that's self-judgment. I'm going to have to find out who I really am. That's getting deep. That's like why I can't have conversations with people. It's tricky. It's like, it opens up all your wounds of judgment when I even have these kind of conversations. So I think sort of on this Facebook is it's intimate. You got your little earbuds in. Nobody has to know you're watching this. You're a Dan Hicks vibrational message junkie. I think it's good. I have other people that I watch. That's what I'm basically saying. But I think the cleanest message out there is Abraham, but you should watch them all. Oh, what's this other guy? There's I don't know how he came up in my queue, but I don't look at anything on Facebook, so I'm sorry anybody else puts things out there. When I do see something, I always sort of like it, but so there's like 2-3 people out there that's ever happened to. But anyway, so I just don't look at anything, so everything's really difficult for me to sort of absorb. It's like, wow, that's really heavy. People having a little bit of feedback to a post or something like that can even be really touchy. So the universe is sort of doing me a favor, and there is no real conversation, no communication going on in the background of this, whereas it does on YouTube and things like that. But usually on YouTube, I feel like it's more positive. The little bit I've sensed on Facebook, it just seems a little more negative. But this is what our generation grew up with, so it's really our generation, isn't it? I think the youth are not as negative as we are. They're not as prejudiced. It just naturally happens because of the progression of the planet and its journey around the 24,000 years around the galaxy. And anyway, I feel like that always has to come into the picture. Because I think you just got to understand who we really are. We do this over and over again in different parts of the galaxy, and there's different experiences, different abilities to be tuned in, tapped in, turned on to the energy vibration that you really are. And sometimes you have no sense of that energy vibration at all. It's like you're in cold, cold, cold water. or environment, whatever, and you're just sort of not vibrating a lot. You know, it's like the whole planet goes into hibernation every year as it travels around the sun, right? That doesn't seem weird, does it? Because we see it. Well, now you just have to realize that happens around the galaxy. We're moving in through spring right now. In our lifetime, it's going to get better and better and better, quicker and quicker and quicker than we ever thought it could have. There's no messing it up. There's no getting it wrong. There's no going the wrong direction. We're going to get better and better. We're going to go in the positive direction. You need to lock down on that one. Tap that one out. My rambling on for 5 more minutes was to get this point out. Tap that one out. Tap out your sense of everything's going right in the world. And all the things that you want to fix out there, whatever, there's a million of them, right? But just have the sensitivity to know when you feel them and write it down. I want to work on that. That's a judgment. And then put it into a little phrase that you want to tap to yourself. Read it for a little bit till you get used to it. And you'll look on YouTube. You'll find some great people that are doing that. So anyway, love you guys. That was 20 minutes. That's a full lengther. You got your money's worth. Anyway, at least we had some riparian entertainment, right? All right. See you guys, and I'll be back soon.